very dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, we are more than 140 participants registered to this online event dedicated to the presentation of the publications related to the Fondazione Romualdo del Bianco and Life Beyond Tourism Movement 2020 Forum, entitled Building Peace Through Heritage, World Forum to Change Through Dialogue, that could not take place physically on the last 15 March because of the COVID-19 pandemic. At that time, the forum had already been defined in detail. The works were already prepared, and most of the entries and papers had already been submitted, waiting only to be publicly shared with the international scientific community. Participants from 189 institutions and organizations, 108 cities, 48 countries were expected to meet in Florence. 138 scholars and professionals from 48 countries already sent their contributions, showing a choral reflection on the topics of heritage, travel, cities management, to contribute to the sustainable development of places, in respect of the local cultural identities, fostering dialogue among peoples and places. And so it was deemed appropriate to share the research and the work of all those taking part by making it timely accessible through 3 publications: the abstract book of the Scientific Symposium, the World Forum to Change Through Dialogue, Building Peace Through Heritage 2020, by the board members of the Fondazione Romualdo del Bianco, and the institutional introductions, and the book containing the proceedings of the event, entitled Proceedings of the Scientific Symposium, Building Peace Through Heritage, World Forum to Change Through Dialogue. These 3 books were published by the Life Beyond Tourism editions, and some of the texts contained in these books were written in preparation for the event, and thus they were only designed to be presented at the plenary and parallel sessions, while others were written after the pandemic started. I would like to remember that the publications regarding the symposium are available to members of the movement in the download section of the lifebeyondtourism.org website. As scientific committee coordinator, I would like to thank the members of the committee for their work, confidence, and support. In alphabetical order: Emanuele Amodei, Francesco Civita, Sue Hodge, Mark Lennon, Emma Mandelli, Aurora Savelli, Mary Westerman Bulgarella, and Luigi Zangheri. Another profound thanks to all the participants and authors, and to the 101 institutions that supported the forum with the patronage, among which the European Union Parliament, UNWTO, ICROMOS, ICROM, UCLG Africa, and many others. I now would like to leave the floor to Paolo Del Bianco, President of the Fondazione Romualdo del Bianco, for his opening remarks.
Good morning to everybody. Good evening to everybody. Thanks a lot to be here. I have to say that I am a little moved. And you can imagine why, the reason why. Dear friends and colleagues, thank you for your participation today at the presentation of these publications of the 2020 Forum Building Peace Through Heritage World Forum to Change Through Dialogue. These 30 years of activity with all you, with young people, for young people, in cultural and natural heritage have passed quickly and intensely. To exercise a dialogue between cultures and raise the awareness about the health of our only one planet, Earth. As you know, I will not recandidate myself to the presidency of the Romualdo Del Bianco Foundation, but I will be always present on its board as President Emeritus with the right to vote and the right to veto. The statute of the foundation will be changed, and the appointment of special advisors to the President will be envisaged to support him in the most delicate decisions. The Del Bianco forces will thus be supported in leading the foundation and guiding the activity of the movement Life Beyond Tourism, Travel to Dialogue, to put into practice the foundation studies and research. Thanks to all of you for having participated and contributed to this experience started over 30 years ago, to which you have given your fundamental collaboration. Thank you again. Together, we have asserted that for the World Heritage Sites, it was necessary not only protection and enhancement, but also exaltation of their responsibility in contributing to promote dialogue among cultures, highlighting the targets and measuring the results with the management plans. For the first time in the 2016, in our publications, we highlighted the synergy among the conventions UNESCO 1972 World Heritage, UNESCO 203 Immaterial Heritage, UNESCO 205 Diversity of Cultural Expressions. Maybe were we the first to notice this close synergy? I don't know. But it is a truly important synergy that can bear great fruits for the serenity of our world community development. Our teams have been accepted by the World Heritage Committee, both in Bahrain, Manama 2018, and in Azerbaijan, Baku 2019, and before by ICOMOS in the 2008 General Assembly in Quebec, and 2014 General Assembly in Florence, and in 2014 General Assembly resolutions 2014 number 1 and 2014 number 42. We have launched the appeal Building Peace Through Heritage, shortly Heritage for Peace. We have experienced a great evolution from people's world, people who have shared this commitment and who have confirmed it with the numerous and very prestigious awards by their institutions. The Foundation for Change with the movement Life Beyond Tourism. The Foundation's effort was for change. The practical application of this commitment is now entrusted to Life Beyond Tourism Travel to Dialogue movement. creating synergy between theory and practice with the know-how of individual places. Therefore, dialogue is created even in silence, without speaking, presenting the knowledge of the places. These foundations' research have been shared in many scientific meetings and have been published over the years. 2014, 2015, 2016, 17, 18, 18 again for the glossary and certification, 19, and 20. The movement has a theoretical scientific body and a system of practical applications. The learning communities, the temporary residents, the awareness centers, the info points. The movement favors a form of human and economic progress, at the center of which is not the material aspect, but the cultural and human values, creating a strong synergy between the aforementioned UNESCO Convention 1972, 203, 205, with the following keywords: young people, heritage, travel, encounters, local communities, cultures, immaterial, welcome, hospitality, dialogue, mutual knowledge, respect, diversity, cultural expressions, know-how. In these years, the message has been addressed to the thousands of students from all continents who participate in our initiatives with their professors. To all the small local communities that struggle every day to protect and pass on their know-how, their cultural identity. This 2020 Forum Building Peace Through Heritage had reached an unprecedented level of international participation for our foundation, as we learned before. The speakers booked were from 189 organizations, 108 cities, 48 countries in the 5 continents, and over 100 organizations have shared the initiative with their patronage. Despite all the difficulties of the period of sanitary isolation, this initiative has materialized in an extraordinary collection of your contribution. They are over 1,200 pages, 230 texts and articles. The acts of this Forum 2020 represent the conclusion of my commitment in these last 30 years. I thank again everyone who helped making this publication possible. Conclusion. Life beyond tourism is a cultural and a commercial revolution. It's a message for the rebirth that starts from Florence, the cradle of humanism, is a new vision of the management of heritage and the use of travel. Focuses on the human person, favors sharing and dialogue among people. These are addresses mentioned at the highest institutional and human levels, even in these days. The General Secretary of the United Nations, the Holy Father, Pope Francis. The future of the Foundation. The Foundation will lead the movement activity to bring together theory and practice to apply life beyond tourism research on the various places. The activity of the movement will be developed on these 3 lines. First, develop of the movement within the Foundation network with the life beyond tourism info points. They allow the development of the awareness centers. Maybe you know that info points are already opened in Russia, in Moscow State Library for Literature, Lithuania, European Humanitarian University of Vilnius and Vilnius University, Georgia, New Educational Institution of Tbilisi, in Azerbaijan, the Azerbaijan University of Architecture and Construction in Baku, Azerbaijan Tourism and Management University, Poland, the State University of Applied Science in Ratibor, Russia, again, State University in Ivanovo, confirmed in these days. And hopefully, in the near future, also in Morocco, presso UCL GA in Rabat, in Japan, in Seika University in Kyoto. This is a process that COVID-19 has only been able to slow down, but not be able to stop it. Second, in the training, professionals and young people, this is the historic activity of the Foundation, now online with the pandemic. I mentioned some of the latest training initiatives. Between 17 and 19, we held various editions of the Training for Trainers Life Beyond Tourism course for trainers, in which 34 participants from academic and governmental institutions from 19 countries took part, including Italy, Russia, Georgia, Poland, Cameroon, Ghana, Lithuania, Saudi Arabia, Czech Republic, Belarus, Azerbaijan, Germany, Morocco, Angola, Syria, South Africa, Tanzania, Togo, Tunisia. These courses were very important because they were attended by the teachers and local administrators. They then created their courses in their places by spreading life beyond tourism and promoting awareness of the value of local culture and the importance of creating dialogue through a new way of traveling. The results of the trainers were then shared and used to update our training programs. During the lockdown, we created a new e-learning course, LBT, Heritage as a Builder of Peace. The students of the new higher education institution of Tbilisi will be the first to take part this year. A workshop, intensive course entitled Life Beyond Tourism, Heritage as a Builder of Peace, will be held between 27 and 30 October at the University of Economics of Prague. The course is included in the study programs with credits of the Faculty of Economics and Tourism of the University of Economics of Prague and was strongly supported by Professor Libena Shalinkova and Jiri Vaniser. They both, in 2018, attended the courses for trainers and now are trainers life beyond tourism. We are partners of two Erasmus Plus projects in which we have brought our contents. 2016-2019, Sure Sustainable Urban Rehabilitation in Europe, Master Curriculum for Architects, Conservators, Urban Planners. The curriculum is now implemented in its pilot version at the Polytechnics of Madrid, Vilnius, Lublin, and at the La Sapienza University of Rome. 2018-2021, Uninet University Network for Cultural Heritage, Integrated Protection, Management and Use for the creation of a master curriculum for architects, conservators, archaeologists, landscape architects. We were recently invited by Sue Hodges with her Sue Hodges Production Australia to bring our contribution to her online courses in history and heritage interpretation, and also by Eka Device, Georgia, to bring our contribution with lectures at International Black Sea University. We offer young people trained in LBT promoters program work experience. Third and last, periodic World Forum Building Peace through Heritage, shortly as said, Peace through Heritage for development of the debate. I would like to conclude with this greeting of mine. Thank all you again for the trust and the cooperation I have received from all you over the years. Your participation and qualified collaboration made this extraordinary experience possible with these exciting results that I could not have imagined possible 30 years ago. In fact, I remember that we started from a heritage site, Florence, and a Florentine hotel industry with its style of welcome and hospitality. It means that we started from practice and we arrived to the theory life beyond travel to dialogue, with its glossary, its certification, LBTTTD 2018, and publications. Now, our theory can be put into practice in the world through the movement Life Beyond Tourism. Info points Life Beyond Tourism are a contribution to the synergies among the UNESCO Conventions 1972, 203, and 205 for the growth of the international community in peaceful coexistence. Are we visionaries? I think we are simply realists. Thanks. Thank you very much. We are a little moved, but before to leave the floor, I would like to say 2 words more. Before to conclude, I would like to express my closeness to the population who are experiencing moments of suffering due to conflicts and wars currently underway. The Foundation is close, strongly close to those who suffer and hope in a quick and peaceful conclusion of these difficult situations. Grazie.
So, thank you. Thank you very much. And please, everyone, be careful in stopping its mic. We are starting now the presentations of the 2020 forum publications. And I invite Aurora Sabelli, that is connected from Reggio Emilia in Italy. And she is the co-editor of the publications to give her her words, her presentation.
Hi, everybody. I will share my screen. Mr. President, dear Corinna, thank you very much for the opportunity to contribute to this debate. Florentine families are, in general, in the history, medieval, early modern, but contemporary history, deeply involved in urban space, and at the same time, they are characterized in history by a dynamism that opens them up to the space world. In the best Florentine tradition, the Del Bianco Foundation has its roots in the history of Florence, identifying itself with a palace located in the heart of the city, while at the same time turning for at least 30 years to Eastern Europe and then to other areas of the world. In this slide, Palazzo Coppini, in Via del Giglio, the facade of Palazzo Coppini in Via del Giglio. The photo at the top right is the Alexei Shkev room. The picture below is Maurizio Bossi central room. In this slide, the Fondazione del Bianco, impressive, very impressive network of over 500 institutions in 2016. But my presentation is not, unfortunately, about the history of the Fondazione, but about the 3 publications of which I am co-editor together with Corinna Del Bianco and Simone Giometti. It was not easy to organize a short presentation because we have more than 1,350 pages in total. It's very difficult. First book, abstract book of the scientific symposium. Second book, the world form to change through dialogue. Third book, proceedings of the scientific symposium, building peace through heritage. The content of the second book may not be clear, so it is worth saying a few words about it. This volume contains speeches by President Paolo Del Bianco and the texts of the institutional authorities. Also contains the bibliography of the Foundation's publications, as well as the awards and honors received over the years. Point of relevance of the 3 publications, in my opinion, of course. They mark and document an important change in the life of the Fondazione del Bianco, a transfer of responsibility by the founder and the president of the Fondazione, Architetto Paolo Del Bianco. They mark and document the firm will of the foundation and its operative arm, the LBT movement, not to succumb to the pandemic and to project itself into the future. Other points of relevance. They mark and document how much this foundation is an international reference point for all those who deal with issues such as heritage, all forms of heritage, natural, cultural, material, and immaterial, travel, tourism, hospitality, intercultural dialogue. This publication represents the product of research and activity in 48 countries. The first word highlighting is the impressive geographical extent and the solidity of the network of relationships forged to date. Mr. President, a very impressive work in these 30 years. In this map, I show you the geographical distribution of the publications, authors in the world. In these publications, we see the co-presence of three different levels: theoretical debate, case studies, local cultural expressions. And, sorry, this moment. Voila. And it's important to strongly underline this point. For the first time at the Symposium 2020, an attempt would have been made to allow these local cultural expressions to speak out at the heart of the theoretical debate, not only in the at eClub exposition, but also within the panels. Some central themes without any claim of being exhaustive. Some central themes in these proceedings: fragility and dangers of heritage, use and reuse of heritage to build dialogue and peace or coexistence, use and reuse of heritage as issue of vital importance for a community's life, and ways of involving residents and local cultural expressions. Reorganization of public spaces to foster social inclusion. Parola chiave, social inclusion. Universities and, in general, cultural institutions as active centers to enhance and manage heritage. Museums as places for confrontation and dialogue. Travel and different models of travel. In this slide, some photos, some pictures taken from the volume of the proceedings: Bahrain, Mozambique, Mexico, Iran, all the world in these proceedings. Conclusion. These publications contain a plurality of voices, experiences, and positions about the meanings of the word heritage. These publications analyze the variety of the actions implemented at every level, not simply for the protection of heritage, but for its broader and more fertile use. The Fondazione Romualdo del Bianco and its Life Beyond Tourism Institute and movement are determined to continue providing these many voices with the opportunity for visibility, but mostly for dialogue and exchange. Are determined to continue protecting for regional cultural expressions and for training, updating, and offer free debate for all those institutions that subscribe to its goals of civic and cultural commitment. Its goals, in conclusion, of dialogue and of peace. Thank you, everybody, for your attention. From Casina, Reggio Emilia, Italy. Grazie.
Thank you very much, Aurora, for this inspiring and very careful insight of these three publications. And I would like now to welcome Mark Lennon, ICROM Emeritus Director General, that is connected from Belgium.
Yes, I am. I'm ready.
Okay, so the floor is yours, Mark.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, my contribution will focus on the way to move from theory to practice and even to best practices in order to empower the local communities to produce their offerings. So forgive me, I'm going to talk about practicalities. The first question in my view is what experience, and I emphasize the word experience, or what kind of information through it are local communities expected to produce for their guests? I would like to inverse that question. What kind of informative experience do you as guests expect from learning communities to make themselves known? We don't want to speak or to hear anything more about bricks and mortar. We expect a real experience of authoritative, substantive, and significant information about their way of being. And what does that mean? The values they treasure in their mind and in their heart while practicing their beliefs, their rituals, their myths, while planning their settlements, buildings, gardens, interiors, while practicing their craftsmanship, their social celebrations, their hosting traditions, their art, poetry, and music. And these values and their interpretation change over time, are different in different cultures, and leave their footprints in living environments. It is a story of value interpretations, changing interpretations, with their impact on the cultural landscapes. And we would be very happy if these backgrounds become foregrounds in information transfer. Second point, if we want to change attitudes, if we want to change minds, the mediators, and they are very important, need to address a few points. Firstly, which accents are you going to put in your story that effectively, that effectively will make bridges between cultures? In that perspective, my experience has shown that if we focus on commonalities, on what we have as human beings in common with the others, and making differences understood, that can be an effective way towards knowledge and understanding. We also may want to diversify experience and provide we want also to diversify experience and provide, apart from intellectual entries, performative offerings such as theater, concepts, poetry, storytelling that mainly have a more impact on people's behavior and minds. And we may want to consider an online presentation of a multifaceted synthesis of all significant programs and subprograms with travel experiences tailored to different target groups, that information that can be downloaded while visiting. Finally, we will have to professionalize and market our stories to the widest possible public, and I will come back to that. Professionalize means set standards for best practice, means train actors, means appeal on technical assistance by, for instance, members of the LBT network of experts that can make things happen in situ. And finally, an evaluation system. The question is then, are we doing the right things? And are we doing things right? And we may want to try to find, apart from critical success factors that are quantitative of nature, to look for qualitative ones. I would like to end my short presentation with the why question. Why the widest possible audience? Because knowledge, understanding, and respect for all are basic conditions for a dialogue, and above all, for a democratic debate about a sustainable kind of society, humanity that we all want. This is not anymore a question of elitist culture, but a social matter of changing mind and behavior, a shared responsibility of all. I even therefore would try to understand peaceful coexistence, not as living peacefully next to each other apart, but to a symbiosis, a term to be borrowed from biology, which includes cultural interdependence and active cross-cultural fruition. If you want to grow, you must change. If you want to change, you must know. And that is exactly what Life Beyond Tourism practice is about. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mark, for these precious thoughts. And so we are going on now, and I will leave the floor now to our guest speakers. First of all, we will have a video message by the ICROM Director General Weber Endoro. So we will pass the video.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, let me join the others in thanking the friends of the Fondazione Raimondo della Bianco, and particularly its president, Paolo della Bianco, for the honor of this invitation that confirms the tradition of excellent relationships with ICROM. This was started by my illustrious predecessors like Mark Lennon, Munir Bushnaki, and Stefano Di Caro. The theme of this forum, Building Peace Through Heritage, World Forum to Change Through Dialogue, already proposing in itself some important issues of particular relevance at this moment of our history. The current pandemic underscores a number of issues which involve our capacity of dialogue. For ICROM, as a cultural heritage institution, culture provides us with the basis on which we can begin to talk to each other and negotiate with each other to explore possible solutions. Today, we all know that cultural heritage and cultural industries are under threat from the pandemic. In the specific field of cultural heritage, museums have closed, heritage sites have closed too. But there are lessons to be learned and ways for cultural heritage in all of this. If we look at it very carefully, from the basis of the economy or even the political events, culture or cultural heritage is very critical. It provides the aspects, it provides us with the context in which we can begin to understand our world. I think we are all aware. Once most of our cultural heritage activities stopped, this affected not just our economies, but also our social being. The advantage of cultural heritage and culture itself is that it affects families. It is the very basis of our society. It affects neighborhood, and therefore it poses issues which we see as pertinent to day-to-day lives. Again, I want to emphasize that the pandemic is perhaps underscoring the ability for us to talk to each other, the ability to dialogue, and therefore the ability to ensure that we continue the soft power for the benefit of our society. Obviously, over the years, cultural heritage benefited from cultural diplomacy, particularly in conflict areas like in Mali or the Middle East and others in the world, as well as in the areas particularly affected by climate change. It is only dialogue based on cultural understanding of each other which is going to help us to address the problems that we are experiencing today. And I want to emphasize that this can only work if we respect and if we understand each other. Cultural traits, cultural norms, and above all, respect ourselves and everyone in the world as a human being with all the rights which we should be enjoying. If we do that, if we respect each other, respect cultural norms and cultural traits from different societies, from different groups, then soft power will give us much more than what we have achieved today. I just want to end by emphasizing the fact that today we have seen, because of the pandemic, that cultural diplomacy has been facilitated by the digital platform. It has enabled us even to have this conference. It is enabling us to have more dialogue, more discussions, but it also exposed the problems that exist in our world, the divide between the North and South. I think it is important today that we understand each other. The digital divide which exists may actually threaten the very soft power which we are trying to do. Connectivity in the South has been exposed. We have tried to communicate and we have had problems. In the North, connectivity is not a problem. It is important that the issues are different between the South and the North. It is a question of security in the North. It is a question of choices between various digital platforms. What I'm trying to say is that in the South, just the ability to connect is what is needed to facilitate the possibility of soft power. The power of soft power, I believe, is in its ability to bring diverse communities, countries, and indeed the world together. Once we are able to do that on an equal footing, then I think it'll be easy and much more fruitful for us to begin to address the challenges of climate change and many others which might come to us. It is important to say that climate change and the current pandemic will not be solved by one nation. It will be resolved by all of us together, emphasizing soft power to influence each other. On our own, we may go rapidly, but together, we are more likely to find lasting solutions and sustainable solutions to our problems. Let me express my heartfelt thanks to Mr. Paulo Dilla Bianco for his trust and friendship to ICROM. I thank you.
So I would like to thank again ICROM also for this, for their ongoing support to our activities and our foundation, and in special now with its Director General Ndoro and his video message. We have now another video message from ICOMOS International President, President Toshiyuki Kono.
Dear Paolo, dear Carlotta, dear colleagues and friends.
Thank you to the Romualdo Del Bianco Foundation for, as always, living up to its commitments and achieving the publication of these 3 volumes despite the current situation, and thus allowing us all to share in the contribution to the 2020 Forum, Building Peace Through Heritage, World Forum to Change Through Dialogue, which sadly could not take place in Florence as planned. And thank you to all the authors who contributed. The current situation and inevitable economic and social impact of this pandemic further underlines how important culture and cultural heritage are in fostering mutual understanding, cultural dialogue, and maintaining links among us all worldwide, and therefore building peace, and how this will contribute in overcoming this challenge together. Our thanks go to the Romualdo Del Bianco Foundation for the undeniable contribution they make day in, day out in promoting this approach and the platform they provide for exchange. At the time when he takes the important step of passing on responsibilities to a new board after 30 years of intensive engagement, I want to personally warmly thank Paolo Del Bianco for the welcome, support, and friendship he has extended to ICOMOS and many of our committees over the past years. I wish Carlotta and the new board all possible success in carrying forward his vision and ethos, and assure you that ICOMOS will remain by your side. Thank you.
Thank you very much also to ICOMOS International. And now we have in program the speech of our close friend and UNESCO expert Munir Bushnaki, that is connected from Paris, France. So Munir, please, this is your floor.
Thank you very much, Corina, and good afternoon to all colleagues. First of all, to President Paolo Del Bianco, now a good friend from now more than 15 years, to my colleague and friend Mark Lennon, to Simone Giometti, and to all those who are present in this Visio conference. First of all, I would like to say how much I am honored to have been, a partner like Mark, like Andrzej Tomaszewski, with the foundation, Paolo Del Bianco. So there is a link very strong, which has been now shown with the speeches of the Director General Emeritus and the present Director General Weber Ndoro, and of course, everybody remembers our friend Stefano De Caro at ICROM. That means ICROM and ICOMOS are part of the movement that started under the leadership of Paolo Del Bianco. UNESCO as well, and I have a very nice picture with President Paolo Del Bianco, with my predecessors, my successors at UNESCO, Francesco Bandarin, who was Assistant Director General for Culture, but also Director of the World Heritage Center, and also our friend who was also Assistant Director General, but only for a short period, coming from Spain. That means that the major institutions, international institutions dealing with cultural heritage, were present in the different meetings that the foundation organized in Florence with this very important theme, tourism and cultural heritage for peace. In other words, the question is, how can tourism contribute to the achievement of these objectives? By promoting dialogue between cultures and sustainable development based on knowledge and promotion of cultural heritage. We note, thanks in particular to the technological progress in transport, to the strong growth in recent years of the tourism phenomenon, that never in the history of humanity, the inhabitants of our planet have so much traveled and have not met and encountered other cultures as much as they do up to the beginning of this year. Cultural diversity is a heritage of humanity. It has to be preserved. Monuments that crumble, music and language that disappear, know-how that is no longer transmitted, and even if fortunately new creations appear, these disappearances are an irremediable loss for humanity, which can precisely compromise the capacities creatives of present and future generations. Today, we observe a paradox of a cultural heritage which, on the one hand, is the subject of a constantly expanding demand through image, travel, and which, on the other hand, has never been so threatened if we consider the risk of destruction of heritage by industrialization, post-industrialization, and even by wars and thefts, without mentioning on another level the threat posed by erosion, climate change, and bad globalization process. And now we are this year faced with this unexpected pandemic, which now is on all the world. Heritage and cultural diversity has therefore been considered as one of the major human issues of global scope, a source of openness and reconciliation of societies, a basis for democracy, a guarantee of peace and sustainable development. The role of tourism is present here, and it is the initiative that we salute in the dialogue launched by Foundation Paolo Del Bianco. The fact that tourism up to the beginning of this year was considered by all the economists and by the UN WTO as the first world activities in economic terms, but also a factor of cultural exchange, confers on its actors a particular responsibility, that is of making visible the cultural diversity and putting into practice the dialogue. I like what my friend Mark said about practice. We have to see the theory, all what is done by the scientists, by the experts, but also to see those who are in the field and to do practical action in the field of bringing tourism as a vector of dialogue. Between the subject of studies and research that has been, and the consumer good classified under the heading leisure and tourism, cultural heritage have found a new place. Often the tourist motivation could seem like the only justification of the operation carried out to safeguard and enhance this cultural heritage. This is why we consider the initiative launched by President Paolo Del Bianco as an original and at the same time a very important one because of its humanistic vision. Humanistic vision. This is a very important word. Tourism as a vector of dialogue between culture participate in the vast enterprise which concerns all of us in promoting the principle of living together. I like the conclusion of Paolo Del Bianco reminding us of what is happening now under our eyes in the television, people suffering, people killed in a barbaric way, when we are speaking about dialogue and mutual links enriching each other. New means of communication and tourism make cultural heritage accessible to the general public. And these new means are used since February, from the beginning of the confinement in all the world, as a solution to what is happening to the normal exchange, to the normal travels. And I will reply to two questions that have been posed to the Foundation on this matter. In tourism, the dialogue of cultures takes place through interaction, through the encounter that occurs between a tourist and a guest, between the tourist and the site, and between cultural objects and the visitor. This process of cultural exchange is only possible if the travel conditions are favorable, that is to say, sufficiently qualitative to create encounter which are genuine cultural exchange. These are among the visionary concepts President Paulo Del Bianco developed since the creation of the foundation with the logo Life Beyond Tourism. He is a great supporter of the UNESCO ideals and a promoter for a dialogue that is seen as a concrete manner by the name given to the amphitheater built in Florence Hotel, Andrzej Tomaszewski, peace be upon him. He contributed to the one, and it was said just now by the president of ICOMOS, my friend Koto, he contributed to the one of the ICOMOS General Conference successfully held in Florence, and he launched, as you have seen through the report made by Mrs. Aurora, the vast number of universities, center of research, and academies in different parts of the world. This year, 2020, could not see the great General Assembly President Paulo Del Bianco was preparing for mid-March. The COVID-19 killed not only people infected, but also all planned activities in the world. We should pay tribute to President Paulo Del Bianco and his fantastic team, who were not stopped by the COVID in the preparation of the General Assembly. And you have seen the 3 volumes, very big, very full of knowledge they produced during the confinement and graciously offered to all of us as a remarkable reference for researchers and professionals in the field of culture and tourism. A gift for the year 2020 that will be the testimony of the permanent optimism and dedication of President Paulo Del Bianco and his fantastic team. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for this comprehensive highlight of our points, or our key points of our activity for the support of Munir Bushnaki, that besides being an expert of UNESCO, he is also former ICROM Director General. So thank you very much again, Munir. We will show the video message of the president of the Bahrain Authority for Cultures and Antiquities, Her Excellencies Sheikha Mai bint Mohammed Al Khalifa.
في البداية أتقدم بخالص الشكر والتقدير لمؤسسة ديل بيانكو على دعوتها للمشاركة في هذا المنتدى في هذه الفترة المهمة التي لابد أن نسلط فيها الضوء على أهمية الثقافة، على أهمية التراث، على أهمية التواصل مع العالم أجمع. لا شك أن الكتاب الجديد الذي أصررته المؤسسة بناء السلام من أجل التراث سيكون له دور فعال في هذه الفترة بالتحديد التي يعاني العالم أجمع من اضطرابات تعم هذا الكون. لابد أن تكون الثقافة هي وسيلتنا للتقريب وللقرب من الآخر ولمد جسور التعاون في هذا المجال الذي يجمعنا. التراث الإنساني هو ما يجمع البشرية، هو اللقة التي يجيد التخاطب بها الكون. لا شك أن البنية التحتية الأساسية للثقافة هي التي تهيئ الاستدامة، هي التي تعطي فرص، هي التي ترتقي بالأحياء، هي التي تنمي الحرف، هي التي تكون وجهة معينة للسياحة الثقافية من خلالها تأتي الاستدامة للمواقع، للمشاريع، لكل ما يميز الوطن بخصوصياته. السياحة الثقافية وعلاقتها بالتراث وثيقة. لا شك أن الزائر أو السائح حين يقصد بلدا لابد أنه هدفه الأول التعرف على هويتها، على تراثها. لذلك تكون السياحة الثقافية كما نادت الأمم المتحدة بأن تكون هي عنوان هذه الألفية والسبيل للاستدامة، لابد من تركيز الضوء عليها ومن جعلها أحد وسائل التنمية المستدامة. في هذه الفترة، في أثناء هذه الجائحة التي غيرت الكون بأكمله، لابد أن نجد وسائل جديدة لكي نستمر في العمل الثقافي ولكي نعزز البنى التحتية. لم تتعطل المؤتمرات ولا اللقاءات ولا الندوات عبر هذه الوسائل المتاحة. نحن نلتقي معكم أقرب ولو كنا عن بعد، ونعزز هذا التواصل، وربما نسلط الضوء أيضا على مكتسباتنا، على مواقعنا. لماذا لا تكون السياحة الداخلية أيضا أحد أهداف البنية التحتية التي نؤسس لها لمجتمع يعي بأهمية وطنه، بأهمية ما يملك، لتكون أيضا وسيلتنا لكي نحرك هذا القطاع الذي يعاني من هذه الأزمة. في هذه المناسبة لابد أن نوجه للحضور الكرام دعوة لزيارة مملكة البحرين والتعرف على 3 مواقع أدرجت في قائمة التراث الإنساني العالمي. موقع قلعة البحرين، والذي يعتبر سجلا لكل الحقب الأثرية التي مرت بها المنطقة، وطريق اللؤلؤ الذي هو فريد من نوعه، يحكي قصة الإنسان والبحر، وعبره نتعرف على تاريخ جزيرة ونمو اقتصادها. تلال الأثرية أيضا هي موقع يستحق الزيارة. حين نعود إلى الحقب التي مرت بها البحرين، سيكون هذا الموقع مستعدا لاستقبالكم والترحيب بكم في مملكة البحرين، فأهلا وسهلا بكم.
I would like to thank also Her Excellencies Sheikh Mai bint Mohammed Al Khalifa because of this, for this intense relationship that we are carrying on with the Bahrain Authority for Culture and Antiquities. Since also last year exhibition, Bahrain Meets the World in Florence, guest country 2019 forum. So I will now read the words that I was anticipating before of the UNWTO Director of the Affiliate Members Department, Jon Wilku. So dear guests and friends, I would like to start by thanking the Romualdo Del Bianco Foundation, UNWTO affiliate member since 2011, for inviting us to take part in the Forum 2020, Building Peace Through Heritage. Unfortunately, due to the commitments already made related to our efforts to support the restart of the tourism sector in this very critical moment, I will not be able to virtually attend the event. The United Nations World Tourism Organization is fully convinced of the power of cultural heritage to strengthen relationship among people and identities, promote a culture of respect for our beautiful environment, and contribute to the fulfillment of the 2030 Agenda. As you all know, culture is a fundamental part of the tourism experience as well. And today, cultural tourism is one of the largest and fastest developing global tourism markets. Tourists often choose their destination based on its cultural offering and attracted by a place's culture, history, and traditions. This emerged once again during the COVID-19 crisis, when millions of people in quarantine have been seeking out cultural and travel experiences from their homes and have been demanding for virtual access to museums, heritage sites, theater, and performances. Moreover, the benefits of closer links between culture and tourism go beyond the economic growth and the creation of employment. Traveling to experience the culture of others also means gaining a direct appreciation of cultural diversity, establishing new cultural ties, and familiarize ourselves with the cultural identity of places, its residents, and local communities. On the one side, culture has an immeasurable inherent value to host communities, and as such constitutes one of the most important assets for tourism. On the other, tourism can be a considerable force for the promotion and conservation of tangible and intangible heritage, while encouraging the development of arts and other cultural activities. However, if poorly managed, tourism can also cause negative impacts on culture and heritage, and the perception of residents, thus inherently damaging the long-term sustainability of both tourism and the cultural sector. And in the last years, we have heard about terms such as over-tourism and tourismophobia, which reflect challenges of managing growth tourism flows into destination and its impact on residents and local communities. With increasing tourist numbers, tourism must be developed and managed in a sustainable manner for both visitors and local communities. One of the challenges for our sector is to be able to strengthen the relations between them. And this can only be achieved through community engagement, respect for the specificities of each destination, and ensuring travelers adopt more responsible and sustainable behaviors, becoming what can be called temporary residents. From the UNWTO, we will continue working on strengthening the relation between tourism and culture as a fundamental aspect of our sector, fully convinced that this can benefit destinations, travelers, and local communities, and contribute to building closer ties between different cultures and identities. I would like to reiterate my appreciation for giving me the opportunity to deliver this message, and I send my sincere congratulations to the Romualdo Del Bianco Foundation for its continuous efforts and commitment in promoting tourism as a key driver to reinforce dialogue between cultures. Yours sincerely, Ambassador Jon Wilku, Director, Affiliate Members Department. I will now introduce the next speaker, guest speaker, that is the president of ICOMOS, International Scientific Committee on Interpretation and Presentation of Cultural Heritage Sites, Sue Hodge, that is connected from Melbourne, Australia.
Thank you very much, Karina. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Great. I'll begin by echoing everyone's thanks to the Del Bianco Foundation and everyone in it who have extended such friendship and warmth towards ISIP and ICOMOS. And I'm very sorry Paolo is going. We've had some wonderful times and he's been fantastic to work with. And I'm really delighted as well that Karina is here, Carlotta and Simone and all my friends. And it's been a wonderful experience. So I'll begin by saying that. I'd also like to acknowledge Anne Ketz here tonight from the ISIP board, another great friend who's made a huge contribution to this Life Beyond Tourism as well as ISIP. I'll begin by saying my publication last year in my talk in 2019 was on practicalities, as Mark and I think some others have mentioned, that there's theory and practice, and the Interpretation Committee focuses a lot on the practicalities as well as the theory. So in my terms, last year I looked at being, from a heritage perspective, the fact that conversations about peace are quite difficult. Much history and heritage is contested. People don't always agree, particularly at a community level. So I investigated what that might mean for heritage communities when we really do engage in meaningful dialogue, and what peace really means. And it means acknowledging difficult parts of ourselves and topics we might not want to talk about, bringing things into the open, encouraging respectful dialogue among people from other cultures and nations. But as the year progressed, as I was about to come to give the speech 2020, I was in Austria, and then the conference was cancelled and I made it home to Australia with 2 days grace from quarantine for 2 weeks, not realising how lucky I was at the time. And now I've been in Melbourne, really in my home with 5 dogs for 8 months, not travelling anywhere, really even outside 5 kilometres in the last few months. And it's made me aware of the challenges tourism faces here in Australia and everywhere. And it's led me to reflect on the form I think tourism might take as we enter a COVID and post-COVID world, and how Life Beyond Tourism can help with its model of heritage communities being at the centre of intercultural dialogue and of renewal. So some of the practicalities we've been working with and I've been talking to Karina and the team about are what changes might happen. I think they're not so much changes as a reorientation of tourism, as everyone has mentioned tonight. Tourism will need to be flexible and adaptive, particularly as COVID continues to wreak havoc. And in my home state of Victoria, there are little outbreaks here and there, as well as major outbreaks. So tourism will need to have several models operating at once, I think, at the levels of the community. And I'll just summarise briefly some features of this world that we're now living in that I think will be, Life Beyond Tourism model will be important. Firstly, there'll be experience-based tourism that needs to take place in the absence of traditional tourism operations. In Victoria, and I'll speak because I've been here locked in the home, so I know all about it recently, there are no cafes, restaurants and so on. So there'll be a need to create tourist experiences that are independent of these traditional tourist restaurants and accommodations and galleries and museums where you can't go inside, but that lead people to be curious and excited about that place so that when it can reopen, tourism can take place. So in a way, putting these seeds in place through experiences such as interpretation with walking, cycling, everything heritage-based with, say, trails and driving routes and so on, so that's the first layer, to get people still travelling to those places in a safe way. But once things reopen, community-based tourism will be at the centre of the new tourism offer, and that's been very clear again here in Australia. Research shows also that stories from local communities that are authentic create the most memorable and lasting experiences for visitors. So the ingredients are here. Life Beyond Tourism, as we know, has pioneered this model. And one question is, how do we have this dialogue if we can't meet face to face, or if we all have masks on and we're standing 1.5 metres away? It's not the same world. So, but there are solutions. Some of it might be virtual dialogue, as people have talked about tonight, communicating with training the communities, but also creating ways in which businesses can interact with the tourism economy as well. But that's very important at the moment. So it might be, one model might be that you might have a new driving or tourism trail to get people interested, and then connect with the local business that has a takeaway, as we call it here, or a picnic basket at a winery, something like that. But something where there can be a form of tourism and an extended length of stay and economic renewal at a lower level that leads to greater renewal as the businesses open up more. And another factor will be tourism will be online. So one of the things I'm working on is currently doing some tourism maps for the 14 villages in our Victorian goldfields, but they all have to be digital because things are opening and shutting all the time. So things have to be much more flexible and responsive than in the past, where we all printed itineraries and booklets and so on. Everything like that has changed. But I think also climate change last night at the advisory committee of ICOMOS was highlighted as the focus of ICOMOS in the future. And ICOMOS has asked all its committees to reorientate their focus. So interpretation in communities and in tourism needs to deal with issues such as climate change, and how we explain to visitors that their personal impact, their own actions have a very big impact on the world, and that they can make a difference. And then how to have dialogues with the communities that need tourists, that were previously getting inundated with tourists from cruise ships and so on, which may again start, of course. How to change that model so that people, or the tourism providers, really understand their impact and start modifying their offer in a sustainable way. And some of these challenges are things that we face as tourism providers, as heritage operators, but as people who work with communities who are deeply affected by COVID and climate change, and other challenges to our planet, such as wars and natural disasters. And ICROM and UNWTO and all of those agencies are working on this, but I think the Life Beyond Tourism model does provide a very clear focus of how we can begin at a community level and start reframing tourism in other ways. Finally, I'll begin by I'll end by talking about some work that Corinna and I are doing together and hope to broaden out, and looking at the polarities between Australia and Tuscany, and there are many. And Tuscany has some wonderful heritage villages with many centuries of tradition, and Australia has extremely important and valuable Indigenous heritage of over 60,000 years in some places, but also very new towns of only maybe 200 and 150 years old. So the exciting thing is that we'll be trialling this Life Beyond Tourism in 14 Victorian goldfields villages, which are part of a World Heritage Bid for the Victorian Goldfields. And it's very exciting because I know the model's been trialled elsewhere, but I think Australia provides quite a different challenge. So what's exciting is we can test this model out, and I come back to the idea that this needs to be practical. But I'm doing a PhD and I've read a huge amount of academic theory, but really we need to actually walk the talk. And that's what Life Beyond Tourism is about, and that's what everyone here has spoken about tonight. So that's just a little taste of what I think the future might hold. And there are many experts with much greater experience than I here tonight, but thank you. And I look forward to working with you at Life Beyond Tourism and hopefully some other people here on creating a new world for the tourism offer at tourism. Thank you.
So thank you, Sue, and we really look forward for sharing our experiences and finding similarities between Tuscany and Australia and the Victoria region. Yeah, definitely. So we go on with our program, and I would like to invite now the director of the African Local Government Academy of the United Cities and Local Governments of Africa, Najat Zarrouk, that is connected from Rabat, Morocco.
Thank you, dear Corinna. Are you hearing me?
Yes. We can hear you and we can see you.
Okay, thank you so much. Honorable President, dear Paolo Del Bianco, dear friends and community of Life Beyond the Tourism movement, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to extend to all of you the warmest greeting of our Secretary General, Mr. Jean-Pierre Lambassi, who was supposed to take the floor at this forum, but he's now in Cameroon organizing the funeral of his beloved mother. We are very proud to join you in this global, timely, and virtual forum of the Foundation Romualdo Del Bianco, which is one of our strategic and key partners to foster, build, and promote a local governance sensitive to culture and heritage in Africa. Since we have started this partnership, since we have started implementing our partnership, we can be very proud of a great harvest, namely training of trainers, organizing joint events, celebrating each year the International Day of Monuments and Sites, supporting one another, and also working to improve and diversify this partnership and collaboration. So for example, for this year, we are planning to organize an open day to share with the city of Rabat and the foundation the methodology, the achievements, the initiative of the foundation, and we will do it in December. And all of you invited to join us in this activity. We are also planning with the city of Rabat, who will be the recipient of the Galileo Galilei portrait as a donation by the Foundation Romualdo Del Bianco, next year during April celebration of the International Day of Monuments and Sites. And as you know, Rabat is currently the African capital of culture. Culture, heritage, tourism, local economic development, or beside health, of course, one of the most sectors suffering and being affected and impacted by the pandemic of the COVID-19. So we need to invest all together more and more in how we can build, govern, and manage better in the future. How we can help support local regional authorities and communities to integrate innovation, risk, digital resilience in their vision, policies, and strategies, in particular concerning culture, heritage, and tourism. Indeed, all the challenges that we are facing require more solidarity, more partnership, more co-creation, and more innovation and synergies. In UCLG Africa, cultural diversity is a key lever to build peace and achieve sustainable development for the world we want and for the Africa we want. We have several initiatives such as the African Capital of Culture, and this year we have done a survey to see how the African cities was affected by the pandemic and how they tried to deal with. We have our training program dedicated to culture and heritage, and next week we would like to invite all of you to our virtual campus of urban thinkers, because you know that all the October month is dedicated to celebrate urban development, and we have decided to dedicate one day, 28 October, to culture and heritage. This day will be done with all of you, and we would like to share with you your challenge, your good practices, and your vision for the future after the COVID-19. Ladies and gentlemen, you can count on UCLG Africa and its academy to disseminate the Life Beyond Tourism movement and philosophy and approach and tools, to learn from your experience and to work together in this very tough moment to make sure that culture, heritage, tourism are not left behind. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Najat, for this, for giving this overview of activities and the main pillars of our collaboration. And we really look forward to go on with these initiatives with you and bring in our contribution, our small contribution for a different type of development, a more sustainable development also in the African continent and the African countries. So last but not least, the last guest speaker is Pietro Tartaglio, president of NEOS Association of Travel Journalists and Photographers. His message will be in Italian. He is connected from Pieve Ligure in Italy, and we will provide the translation in English available in the chat. So Simone is going to insert the English translation in the chat that you can find in the bottom of the screen. So I invite Pietro.
Eccomi, buongiorno a tutti i presenti e anche a quelli che ci seguono online. Ringrazio la Fondazione Romualdo Del Bianco e il Movimento Life Behind Tourism e tutti coloro che hanno organizzato questo interessantissimo forum. In 50 anni di attività giornalistica ho avuto il privilegio di vedere luoghi di grande bellezza, espressione dell'arte, delle culture e della storia del mondo, alcuni dei quali purtroppo sono stati irrimediabilmente violati, come ad esempio le statue di Buddha della valle di Bamiyan in Afghanistan, i siti archeologici di Palmira e Apamea in Siria, i graffiti rupestri del Tassili in Algeria e quelli dell'Akakus in Libia. Ma ho avuto anche il privilegio di conoscere e intervistare personalità del Novecento che si sono impegnate per la difesa dei valori fondativi dell'umanità, dell'arte e dell'ambiente. Mi riferisco a Claude Lévi-Strauss, a Sua Santità il Dalai Lama, a Madre Teresa di Calcutta, al premio Nobel per la letteratura Orhan Pamuk. Nelle loro parole era chiaro il loro messaggio. Occorre l'impegno collettivo che deve puntare alla salvaguardia della cultura e dell'ambiente anche con piccoli gesti quotidiani. Purtroppo sono stato testimone anche dei cambiamenti epocali di luoghi preziosi e incantati deturpati dal turismo di massa. Da Bali a Phuket, da Venezia alle Cinque Terre in Liguria, dalla Patagonia alle cascate di Iguazú, da Maya Bay di Phi Phi Island a Boracay nelle Filippine. Spiagge uniche al mondo che sono state chiuse al turismo nel 2018 per alcuni mesi. A Budelli in Sardegna, una spiaggia rosa favolosa dove da anni non ci si può più andare. Colpevoli l'impreparazione culturale a viaggiare in modo corretto e il considerare ambienti, arte e culture come oggetti da usare e da consumare in viaggi mordi e fuggi. Prima della pandemia, nel passato spesso quasi tutto ruotava, salvo pochi luminosi casi, sul consumo turistico dissennato del territorio e di rapina delle risorse locali. Complice una popolazione più ricca e più longeva, l'incremento del ceto medio, soprattutto asiatico, si aspettava entro il 2030 in Europa e in Italia un'invasione di milioni e milioni di turisti. Un'apocalisse che avrebbe fruttato alti profitti e provocato però danni irreparabili al territorio e alla città d'arte, in particolare italiana. Durante la pandemia, il mondo del turismo è entrato in profonda crisi e si sono registrate perdite enormi, disoccupazione, tour operator piccoli e grandi hanno chiuso le loro attività, le gite scolastiche sono state azzerate, le crociere sono in grande affanno. Dopo la pandemia, che fare? Abbiamo l'occasione per ripensare il turismo e come gestire meglio questo fenomeno di massa e i flussi turistici, a come ripartire secondo direttrici e scelte ecosostenibili, superando gli errori del passato. Occorre far convivere, mediante un'accorta e puntuale programmazione, il profitto con la tutela del territorio e dell'ambiente, con il rispetto delle città d'arte, dei centri storici e dei piccoli borghi, di chi ci abita e della loro cultura, con il contenimento anche dei consumi energetici. Occorre che pubblico e privato, imprenditori del settore e amministratori politici collaborino sinergicamente e prendano provvedimenti tempestivi adeguati. Ecco alcune sommarie e pragmatiche indicazioni. Accoglienza. È necessario più empatia e un'accoglienza più attenta al cliente, renderlo residente temporaneo, come Life Behind Tourism cita. Occorre fare un salto culturale da parte degli operatori del turismo. Bisogna ripensare i modelli. Più spazio, più servizi, più privacy. Spesso si preferisce una casa dove soggiornare per avere meno contatti con altre persone. AirB insegna. L'albergo diffuso sul territorio consente di ristrutturare borghi storici abbandonati. Meglio puntare sulle dimore storiche, i castelli e le residenze di charme. I monasteri e le abbazie sono luoghi dello spirito e dell'arte che rendono unico soggiornarvi. Enogastronomia e artigianato. Promuovere i prodotti del territorio a chilometro zero. Grande lavoro ha svolto lo Slow Food di Carlo Petrini, che ha valorizzato chi produce in armonia con l'ambiente e gli ecosistemi e con la creazione dei 400 presidi sostiene le piccole produzioni tradizionali che rischiano di scomparire. Salvare gli antichi mestieri del passato, sapienze del fare che regalano prodotti artigianati di pregio ancora oggi. Ecosostenibilità. Attenzione alla salvaguardia dell'ambiente, puntare sul turismo lento, slow travel, che privilegia la qualità del viaggio e la conoscenza della storia e dell'arte e del territorio che si visita, no al turismo mordi e fuggi. Attenzione alle varie categorie dei turisti. I single. Bisogna evitare che siano penalizzati sia nell'accoglienza sia nelle tariffe praticate. LGBT. In Italia e in molti paesi questo settore di mercato è quasi del tutto ignorato. Occorre implementarlo. Portatori di handicap. Si devono adeguare strutture e servizi che sono spesso carenti alle loro esigenze. Terza età. Chi è in pensione ha più tempo e più disponibilità finanziarie e viaggia di più. Famiglie. Offerte mirate che prevedano anche il coinvolgimento culturale dei figli. Queste sono alcune delle indicazioni pratiche maturate in tanti anni di attività di viaggiatore e fotografo, un'attività svolta sul campo, visitando i luoghi anche a distanza di anni per vedere i segni del cambiamento causato dall'attività umana. Sono quindi a condividere questa visione della Fondazione e del movimento Life Behind Tourism, che pone l'accento sull'importanza di riportare alla luce i valori umani e comunitari del viaggio e di trovare nuove combinazioni tra le giuste istanze commerciali e quelle legate alla preservazione dei valori culturali e umani dei singoli territori. Concludo ricordando le parole di Platone. La bellezza è mescolare in giuste proporzioni il finito e l'infinito. Grazie per la vostra attenzione.
So thank you very much, Pietro, for this inspiring contribution that is merging the world of theory and practice. That is what with the Life Beyond Tourism movement we are hardly working on. And so this section of our program with guest speakers is now at its conclusion. We have now the section dedicated to the Forum 2020 guest country with Azerbaijan. You know that every edition of the annual forum hosts a guest country. As I was mentioning before, in 2019, the guest country was Bahrain, with the Authority for Culture and Antiquities. And in 2020 was Azerbaijan with Ishari-Sheher, the old center of the city, the capital, Baku, that is also a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And every year we also host an exhibition in Florence where the guest country can, craftsmanships, heritage forms, cultural expressions can meet the world. So this year should have been Azerbaijan meets the world in Florence. So I leave now the floor to the representative of the administration of the State Reserve of Ishari-Sheher, Elsever Mamedov, that is connected from Baku, Azerbaijan. Can you hear us? Can you see, can you hear us, Elsever? Okay.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, great. I think I had problem with the connection. Is it okay now?
We can hear you.
Great.
We cannot see you right now, but I think it's working, the audio.
Just a second.
Yes.
Is it okay?
Perfect. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear Mr. President Del Bianco, dear Chairperson, distinguished speakers and guests, I would like to start first with my sincere appreciation to Mr. President Del Bianco for his kind words and closeness to those who are currently suffering from horrific results of the conflict. In this context, the topic building peace through heritage is really very urgent and important. The peace in the region where I am addressing you right now from is threatened again after the blatant violation of the ceasefire regime by the Armenian armed forces beginning from September 27. As a result of shelling and damaging of civilian infrastructure, including cultural properties and facilities, over 60 civilians, including children, killed and hundreds of people wounded. The ballistic missiles and cluster bombs launched by Armenia targeted primarily residential houses outside the conflict zone. So we appreciate the efforts of international community that condemn the killing of civilians in such a barbaric way and call for the world, the international community, to take much bolder steps in order to stop aggression and separatism. That was very short information on the recent escalation. Now I come and the threat to the peace in the region. Now I come to my presentation. The administration of Ishari-Sheher and Romualdo Del Bianco Foundation have a long history of cooperation. Ishari-Sheher, in English, it is inner city or walled city. It is the historical center of capital Baku, inscribed by UNESCO on the World Heritage List in 2000. Our cooperation with Del Bianco Foundation, the history of this cooperation dates back to 2012, when we signed MOU, Memorandum of Understanding. The goal of this MOU was to explore and promote best practices in the interpretation and presentation of cultural heritage, as well as the need for intercultural dialogue within the framework of sustainable development. Over the last 80 years, we had very fruitful cooperation. the values that we share really help to further strengthen the joint cooperation, and Isharisha was one of the most dedicated contributors to the Foundation's scientific publications, cultural events. The Bianco Foundation is really a very exceptional international platform for us to promote the rich cultural heritage of Azerbaijan. And so far, we really had very great pleasure to exhibit our art products during various events, cultural events, conferences, webinars organized by the Foundation. We are happy to be that we have been part of the 21st General Assembly and International Symposium, Heritage as a Builder of Peace, held in March 2019 in Florence, where our Center for Traditional Arts presented Azerbaijani culture. This year, during the 22nd General Assembly, Azerbaijan was selected as a guest country, and administration of Icharishar is very thankful to the Foundation for this opportunity to be part of this project. As this year we mark 20th anniversary of the inscription of Icharishar on the UNESCO World Heritage List, it was particularly remarkable for us to celebrate this great occasion together with our international partners, including the Bianco Foundation. Unfortunately, the global pandemic did not allow us to personally come to Florence and to attend the General Assembly and Symposium. Nevertheless, the exhibition Azerbaijan Meets the World in Florence, coinciding with the General Assembly and Symposium, was a great idea to showcase Azerbaijan as a guest country. And the concept, very shortly, I will speak about the exhibition and I will conclude my speech. The concept of the exhibition was built on three major cultural activities. The first activity was inner city exposition, which we plan to present hundreds of original photographs from late 19th and early 20th century collected by local photographers for the last 40 years. The exhibition presents how the urban environment has changed over years in Icharishar and in the entire city of Baku. Exhibition of traditional crafts made with contemporary design was another activity that we have been planning within the exhibition Azerbaijan Meets World in Florence. And this exhibition could help to see the aesthetics of local crafts and their role in preservation of heritage. Our talented and creative young artists and designers who are inspired by the heritage of Azerbaijan develop beautiful handmade products with contemporary design and relevance. And final activity that we have been planning as part of this project was the presentation on our recent conservation projects, which aimed to restore and repurpose historical buildings into cultural centers. Over the past several years, since the independence of Azerbaijan, we have restored several historical buildings and brought them to life. With this activity, the idea was to demonstrate with different resources like videos or PowerPoint presentations how we managed to restore not only architecture but also the social values associated with the historical buildings. So I think I'm already out of time and I stop here and I thank again the Foundation for this great opportunity to speak today and also look forward to our future cooperation. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Elsevier. We hope that this exhibition will be able to be done in some ways, in some days without masks, possibly. And our foundation is close to all the countries and populations that are now living conflicts and wars. And we sincerely hope that all the conflicts will be solved peacefully as soon as possible.
Thank you.
Yes? We now go on with our program. It is now time for the discussion. And we are now, I want to update you because we are now online, more than 80 people that are now connected. And we were in certain moments registered even more than 130. So it's now time of the discussion, and as you can imagine, many questions arrived even before the event started. So seeing the number of participants, we have selected a few of these questions to which the speakers can answer. And we will afterwards provide also the other questions, answers in a written format, and we will disseminate them through our channels, portal and social networks. So the first question that I would like to address is the one of Raffaele Basile. He's the press office of the Inner Biodistretti Review. And the question is how to temper landscape and financial attractiveness of the territories. And I would like to address it to Sue. Sue, do you want to answer?
Yes, I actually had another question too, so I've got two, I think. Could I go back to that, because I thought I was answering a different question, Karina. I've got another one, so you ask someone else a question, please, and I'll prepare an answer to that question now. I've got a second question, Samara. So yeah, if you can ask another one, I'll come back to that in a minute.
Sure. So the second one is actually two questions that are kind of connected. So the first one is the one of Roberta Caldovino, events and designer in Rome, Italy. That is, how should the relationship between public administration and the role of the architect change in planning urban regeneration on a human scale for sustainable tourism development? And the second one is how can we make vernacular architecture more interesting to the general public by Professor John Wakefield of the Liverpool University in the United Kingdom. And I would like to ask to Mark Lennon if you would like to answer to this question.
I'm trying to answer from the angle up there. I don't get in the middle. I don't know how it's come. It's perhaps because we are a very small country. Never mind. Anyway, the question of the relationship between the public administration, the architect, with regard to urban regeneration and sustainable tourism, is a very complex one. And it's all related to planning and relationships, substantive relationships. First of all, there are different partners involved in it. Firstly, the public administrations with decision-making power. On the other side, the architect who is designer. But we have two other partners in the whole discussion as well, which is the members of the living environment and the economic pressure from outside, be it tourism, mass tourism, over tourism, or just general developers that are more interested in money than in quality of the environment. So there are different partners involved. When we think we know what sustainable tourism may include, firstly, visitors management. That's a question of managing quality and quantity. Secondly, managing the conservation management of the heritage issues, and then the environment in which people are living, the hosting communities. I've seen a development in Santorini, in Greece, one of the islands, from, let's say, an island without tourism into an island full of shops. So it's completely different. Now, an issue central to discussion is what you mentioned, human scale, humanity. And we have been discussing this since 1975, when the Year of Architectural Conservation by the Council of Europe was at stake. There, some criteria were mentioned: scale, environmental value, inclusion of old and new, social inclusion. And it is a comprehensive thing of cultural, economic, social, and environmental. To find solutions, because there is a tension between all these partners, I would suggest to create a forum or a place for debate. And one of the first questions I would suggest is, what kind of environment, what kind of society do we all partners that are involved want? And how can we ensure that common interest prevail to individual ones, insofar that individual ones can take place, but within a general common framework? First of all, you will have to discuss, I think we should have to discuss what we mean, what we understand by common interests. And that is a question of debate. Set criteria and try to convene and come to a question: what do you can contribute and what can we contribute from the other side? So it is a theoretical question. It is a theoretical answer, I mean, but this is something you may want to try. The second question about vernacular architecture, to make it more, can you help me again with the question, Corina?
How can we make vernacular architecture more interesting to the general public?
There has been a committee, there is still a committee of vernacular architecture. Architecture in ICOMOS, I think it was in one of the international committees. And they were at risk because these were old buildings, mainly in decay. They were not interesting at all. And in the year 70 again of last century, the value, environmental value and cultural value, social value of this architecture has been recognized. And since then, they have been included in several campaigns of urban conservation, where these old buildings, vernacular buildings, apart from the palaces and the more important ones, are inclusive. It is not always linked with just the architecture as such, because vernacular architecture has also a social dimension. And so that part of it can be or should be included in the discussion. It's a question of showing, in with some cases, and there are several ones in the whole world, in different continents, how you can make from a vernacular architectural environment a very peaceful and agreeable, acceptable, livable environment. So I think showing the good cases, the best practices, and bring them into discussion may be helpful.
Thank you, Mark. The next question is, how can we bridge North with South cultures through funding agencies? It was posed by Matar Taha from the Egyptian Embassy in Rome. And I would like to invite Najat Zarrouk to answer to this question. We cannot hear you, Najat.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Corina. Concerning this question, I think there is 3 ideas I can share with you. The first is access to information. There is so many opportunities that can support culture, heritage, and tourism coming from diverse actors and stakeholders, but we don't have the information. So for me, we have to innovate and see how we can access to all these opportunities. Second is to master the way to present and apply to these opportunities. It's not easy. So we spend all our time trying to benefit from grants from European Union, from other donors and international organizations. But in final, we can lose these opportunities because we don't respect the requirements. So this is the second issue, how we need, what we need to master these procedures and process. And the third idea is how we can build jointly projects and proposals to take advantage of these diverse opportunities at global or regional level. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Najat. So now we have 3 questions, so a cluster of 3 questions on the moment that we are living because of this pandemic and its consequences on the heritage and tourism sector. So the first one is from Geoffrey Williams from the Université de la Bretagne du Sud, Lettres et Sciences Humaines de la France. How the ongoing pandemic situation will affect responsible tourism. And the second one is from Jörg Haspel, president of ICOMOS Germany, Berlin, and is how could cultural heritage contribute to the post-pandemic recovery? The third one is from Anne Katz of the 106 group in St. Paul in the United States of America. And it's, please share your thoughts on effective ways the heritage tourism community can bounce back from COVID-19 in short and long term. Thank you. So I would like to invite Munir Bushnaki to answer to these challenging questions. Munir, can you hear us? Okay, maybe we can, in the meanwhile, there might be some problems of connection. So in the meanwhile, I would like to ask to Sue if she wants to answer to her question.
About the territories. Was that the question about the territories, Karina?
So it's how to temper landscape and financial attractiveness of the territories.
Thank you. I had another one here. So I think there are a couple, I would take up from what Mark said, that I think that it's also a question of regulation, because I think with the territories, if you're looking at the balance between economic development and landscape, there's the hard fact that governments will often allow inappropriate development. So it's partly the answer is activism with government, and that would be my thread of the answer today, of activism. But secondly, convincing communities and all the players in the equation, such as tourism agencies, government, developers, that if they don't protect their environment, then it will disappear, then they won't have any tourism and they won't have any businesses. So it's a bit of, my answer is more of an economic answer, that it has to be about better regulation, but also promoting the value of protecting the environment as an economic and social solution. It's sustainable, but also it's to people's advantage, because people in the outside heritage think about money, and we have to make arguments, I think, sometimes economically, to say if you fail to protect this protected area, this beautiful region, then you will lose, as well as all the other arguments that we in heritage know so well. So I'm actually working at the moment on trying to understand the economics of heritage, so that we can have those kinds of arguments to developers and the people that actually make the decisions. Secondly, we need to be at the table when the decisions are made. So we need to promote heritage tourism a lot more actively within both government and the commercial sector. So they're my more structural answers. Thanks.
Thank you, Sue. So we thanks all the speakers also for answering to these questions and all other participants for their challenging questions. So as I was mentioning, for the time restrictions, we cannot answer to all of them, but we will answer to them in a written form, and we will disseminate them through our portal and social networks. The final presentation will be the one of Professor Olga Karpova from Ivanovo State University. That will be the next Live Beyond Tourism Info Point hosting institution. Then we will have a final remarks from our president, Paolo Del Bianco, and a few conclusive words. So Olga, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes. First of all, thanks once again for inviting us here, as we have very long connections with your foundation. And thanks to your support, we already organized 13 students international workshop, and this is one of the most interesting and most effective directions of your foundation, because working with you young generation is one of the most interesting and challenging tasks today. So I can just remind you that during these 13 seminars and workshops, we brought together about 300 people, students and teachers from 6 countries and 11 Russian universities. Thank you very much for this. We are continuing doing it through online services, and we published already 7 issues of the Volunteer Students Dictionary, Florence and the Works of World Famous People. I hope that at the end of this educational year in spring, we will produce the next interesting issue with new addresses for guides and tourists. And I see here also our partners from Lithuania who joined us thanks to your activities too. And I would like, if possible, to give the floor to my colleague Katerina Shilova, who will inform you about our activities and our joint projects on information point which we are organizing at Ivanovo State University.
Thank you very much, Olga. And now a few closing words of our president, and then few technical final informations.
Just to close and to say to everybody, thanks a lot to be here. Thanks a lot to have taken part to this our event. And I would like to summarize in 2 words our idea, our philosophy, our work as COVID asked to us to be careful to the distance and to make our distance quite long. The movement Life Beyond Tourism asks to stay close, to watch better, to listen better, to understand more, and to get more acquainted with our similars. So, and so on, of course. So this difference, COVID and the movement, Life Beyond Tourism movement, we are looking the world in a very different way. And now with the mask, and with all the attention to the medicine, to be careful, to sanitize and so on, but we have to be close to understand the others, to understand our similars. Thank you very much. It was very important for us to close this 22 with this meeting, showing the results of your work at the beginning of this year with these publications, and to inform you about the evolution that is in progress. So it is not already done, it is in progress. But we are looking to do our best for the future of the activity of the movement in the network of the foundation, with the help of all of you, with your universities, your institutions, and so on. Thank you very much. Let's go on with proud of this our idea, proud of the possibility to be winner in this development. Thank you very much. Bye. Thanks a lot. Thanks to all of you. Bye.
So before ending this, the conversation, the meeting, the Zoom meeting, we thank all the forum and online event participants, and we invite all to follow our updates on 3 main channels. The first one is our livebeyondtourist.org portal. The second one is our social networks, so mainly Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. And the third one is on the EasyRec webpage on the Live Beyond Tourism portal, on which you find all the participants' video contributions, and we invite those who didn't send it to provide their video presentation. So this is a new tool that we have just created in order to reinforce the international visibility of all the authors who believed in the 2020 Forum Building Peace Through Heritage. Find all the information on the Live Beyond Tourism portal. Now, if everybody can turn on their camera, maybe we can make a picture, a group picture. Please come. We can make a group picture with you in the Auditorium al Duomo. So we will be on the stage, see, and they will be all here. So please, just one moment of patience. We are trying to understand that the new type of group picture. Venite? Dobbiamo avere la video. Ci giri la video? Ci giri la video? La videocamera che prende il palco. Grazie. Ok. Ci vediamo?
Non copriamo Svetlana.
Ok, so we are taking the screen print.
Dobbiamo stare.
Come ci si mette?
Non siamo.
Ok. Perfetto.
Più qua.
Ok.
Non si vede a noi.
Perché si vede noi intanto.
Le icone. Ok. Cheese. No.
Ci vediamo la mattina.
Vieni più qua.
Ci vediamo avanti. Allora andiamo tutti là, così prendiamo tutta la luce.
Ok, però facciamo veloci, dai.
Faccio vedere al telefono. Pronti? Via! Pronti? Io le vedo.
Ok.
Perfetto. Poi proiezione su
Thank you. you guys, and we will share the group picture on our networks. Goodbye from the auditorium al Duomo. Vai. Puoi fare end the meeting. End the meeting.
Sì, vado.
Ciao Shina, I see you laughing. Bye.
Bye.
Leave, il bottone rosso in fondo in basso. Leave the meeting.